Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome in to Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for being here. Wednesday, March 5th. Good morning to you all. So, you may have heard, New York Jets, they released wide receiver Davante Adams. So, he's going to be the topic of discussion this morning because there are a lot of folks on Jaguars Twitter. Yes, I'm still calling it Twitter. Who are talking a lot about Davante and should the Jaguars pursue Davante. So that's what we're going to dive into here today. I'm excited to get into it. Talking about somebody of this caliber being a Jaguar is always exciting to think about. So yeah, that's what we're doing here today. Obviously, you see my Magic hat on. Magic are killing me right now. Unbelievable. 2 straight losses to the Raptors. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think with free agency looming, 5 days away from the legal tampering period, they have some opportunities here to make some big moves. And guys that get cut, I believe, can start negotiating before the March 10th start of legal tampering. And Davante Adams got released by the New York Jets. So to frame this conversation, like we're going to talk about, is Davante still good? How much will he cost? Do the Jaguars have the means? Do the Jaguars have the need? All that good stuff. Really appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel further, you can check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. So, is Davante still good at 32 years old? Yes, he is very good. He is still a very good player. Even in a year in which he got traded from the Raiders to the Jets midseason, a year in which he missed several games, still came away with 135 targets, 85 receptions, 8 touchdowns, 1,063 yards, and that was the least productive year he's had since 2017. So yeah, Davante Adams, still pretty good. He has scored at least touchdowns every year since 2020. This type of production, consistent production, regardless of who's throwing him the football, to me is special. And obviously he has worked a lot with Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is not who he once was from a player perspective, a skill perspective, but I still think Davante has the ability to be close to double-digit touchdowns, if not more, and over 1,000 yards for you while being fairly consistent. Now, last year he did have a little bit of a drop issue. Dropped the ball a lot more than you'd like, over 10% drop rate. I think a lot of that can be attributed to switching teams midseason. That can make it a little difficult overall. And just maybe not having the most focused, locked-in year because of the Raiders situation, and then the Jets really having a tough year despite him playing good football. So yeah, to me, Davante can absolutely still play. He can still route you up. He can still win at the catch point. He's the type of guy, even though he's not the fastest guy, he runs routes at an elite level still. And I still think that he's able to create that last second separation when he doesn't create separation with his route running. I think he's really good, after the ball's in the air, creating that little bit of separation, positioning himself with body control and strength, and just savvy to be in the right spot to come down with the football. So, yeah, Davante can still play. How much will he cost at 32? Going to be 33 next December, looks like. Something like that. Yeah. How much will he cost? When you look at the wide receiver market, I don't think he's pushing 30 million at this point, certainly. What range is he in? And I think it's probably a 2-year deal, 3-year deal max for Davante, where there would be a 2-year out I think if you sign a 2-year deal, you probably are just not going to have an out. It's just going to be that 2-year deal, and you'll eat a lot of money. Probably you would have a couple void years. You would have a big signing bonus, so year 2 would be a little bit bigger than year 1. But neither year would have like massive cap hits. Is he in the? And like I think from a respect standpoint, from a talent standpoint, he's probably. I mean, he is. He's better than Calvin Ridley. He's better than Diggs. And you know, Ridley got 23 million last year, so I think you could expect Davante to get more than that. I would probably say 25 million a year would probably do it. You know, for 32-year-old Davante Adams, 25 million a year over 2 years. Again, add a couple void years, reduce the cap hit, and the void years, they're really not a big deal with this rising cap. It's kind of smart business, honestly. So, yeah, the Jaguars, will they have the means to be able to pull off something like that and still address the other needs that I think that they're going to address? Yeah, I absolutely do. I think the Jaguars currently have about $38 million in expected cap space according to overthecap.com. They have a lot of cap flexibility. Been on record a couple times saying I would be more surprised if both Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram are here in Jacksonville this year than if both of them are gone. I definitely expect one of those guys to no longer be with the team. I just think that the cap flexibility that their contracts moving off of them offers the Jaguars, I think the Jags end up moving on from at least one of them. So I expect the Jags to probably be close to about $50 million when it's all said and done in cap space entering this kind of wave 1 of free agency. And I expect them to sign at least, as we talked about yesterday, a starting cornerback, a starting safety, and a starting interior offensive lineman plus edge depth. If you're talking about a Davante Adams $25 million per year contract, do you have the means to do all that? Well, yeah. I think Davante, you look at that deal, $25 million a year. Get out our handy dandy calculator here. I think you're looking at year 1 cap hit of about $10 million. Then we talked about Javon Holland. I think we had his cap hit, which I expect the Jaguars to pursue Javon Holland at safety, at about $9 million. So you're looking at $19 million in cap space. Cornerback, I said Carlton Davis, maybe on the high end, highest end of what he could get is probably $18 million, 18 times 0.4. And the Jaguars, the way they've been writing their contracts for a long time, is about 40% or less of the average annual value is the year 1 cap hit, thanks to Shad Khan and his willingness to write big checks. So we're at 19 plus 7.2 for Carlton Davis. So let's say 26. Edge depth is probably going to cost, less than 4 a year, or less than 4 for a year 1 cap hit. So interior offensive line, probably you could put in the $15 to $17 million range. So let's say 17 on the high side. They're still, they could sign Davante with the cap space they have currently, even if they didn't make any major moves, which I expect them to do. So yeah, I think the Jaguars definitely have the means. Now, do they have the need? We are going to talk about that on the other side. Got to remind you all about Underdog. This basketball season, when your favorite star scores buckets, we're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code DuvalDaily, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. If you're smart like me, you'd have definitely looked at Paolo's points last night and said, yeah, I think he's going to smash that. And he did. Had a 40 burger for the Magic. They couldn't get a W. No fault of his own. But, that's the type of thing you can do over on Underdog. It's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Duval Daily to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus, 90 plus, Alabama, Nebraska, 90 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus match used in Arizona and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncvgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Do the Jaguars have the need for a player like Davante Adams? Yes, they absolutely do. They absolutely do. They haven't had two high-quality starting outside receivers for Trevor Lawrence since he's been in the league. Got to get a little bit of iced coffee in there. They have not had one since Trevor Lawrence entered the league. A pair of high-quality outside receivers. And Davante, again, as a route runner, as a catch point guy, veteran savvy, high production numbers. Yes, they could absolutely use a running mate for Brian Thomas Jr. That would be fantastic for them. And he can still be a 3-level threat. And he can take attention away from Brian Thomas Jr. And he can make it insanely difficult for opposing defenses to really key in on one guy. Liam Cohen can take advantage of that, help Trevor Lawrence out in a big way. Am I good with this one? Yes, absolutely. Optimally, if I'm doing this, if I'm signing Davante, I still want a rookie wide receiver on day 2 or early day 3. Really, preferably day 2. You have 3 day 2 picks right now. I want a receiver with one of those first 2 picks because, and that's not eschewing the defensive front, again, or the offensive line. I have the Jaguars signing an interior offensive lineman, signing an edge depth player, and then in the draft still addressing interior defensive line and interior offensive line further. But yeah, I wouldn't look at this as this like long-term play, obviously, and I don't think the Jaguars would. I think they would say this is a play where we can jumpstart our offense right now for at least the next couple years. If it goes well, maybe you could keep him around for 3 or 4 years. These superstar type players, sometimes they end up playing well into their mid-30s at a high level. I think Davante Adams could potentially do that. Doesn't really look like he is on the verge of falling off a cliff, in my opinion. So yeah, 2-year deal, and also going and adding a outside presence, preferably, but it doesn't have to be a pure outside receiver. Somebody who can complement Brian Thomas Jr. at an extremely high level during Davante Adams' run here, but also after. So when Davante decides to hang it up or you're ready to move on, whatever, you've still got a lot of ammunition on offense. No matter what, though, I am good with it. Even if the Jaguars didn't pursue receiver in the draft, I'm good with it because I think, one, he makes your offense just so much better, so much more versatile, so much more difficult to prepare for. And I think Trevor and Brian Thomas Jr. getting to be around someone like that would make them so much better when he's here and after he leaves. Now, the ultimate question is, would Davante come to Jacksonville? I think that's going to be a money question, obviously. And I also think it's going to be a question of, does he view this situation highly? I don't know the answer to that. I think it would be easy to look at what Liam Cohen did in Tampa, what this building is kind of doing, and you know, if you have the thing about free agency now with these legal tampering and all that. And again, I believe since Davante was cut, he can actually meet with teams. The impending free agents during legal tampering period who are just their contracts expired, they have to wait to talk to teams until free agency actually begins, where it's just their representation can kind of agree numbers wise, with a team. They can't actually talk to these teams. But I think Davante could have some serious conversations with teams about philosophy, about the direction. And I think the Jaguars could probably pretty much sell anyone right now when you've got Tony Baselli, Liam Cohen, James Gladstone in a room with you. I think that you're going to be feeling pretty fired up about playing with this group. And then you look at Trevor Lawrence, you look at Brian Thomas Jr. Maybe Davante would want to play here. And again, a lot of times it's going to come down to, is this a pretty good situation with a lot of money to offer? Yes, it absolutely is. And you can always come back to the no state income tax in Florida, all that good stuff as a selling point for the Jaguars, brand new facility. You know, I'd be fired up about it. Will it happen? I have no clue. Honestly, it would surprise me a little bit if the Jaguars go this route. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jaguars pursue a veteran receiver, but I wouldn't predict it. I would predict that they go young receiver in the draft, honestly. But look, Davante Adams. You've also got Chris Godwin, who could potentially hit free agency, and we'll talk a little bit more about him as well. Different situation, but yeah, I'm definitely here for it. I am definitely here for it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.